What is up? Hear Me Out Sports covering Week 11 tight ends. Let's run it. All right, Week 11 tight ends. We got to cover Week 10 though first. So with that, we're going to quickly cover and review Week 10 hits, misses, and close calls. Tight ends, we are 60.71%, a little bit better than last week, but still not super great. We're doing all right though. Some of the hits, Cole Kmet, man, he's been coming out swinging these last couple of weeks. Dalton Schultz also having a big game. He's had a little bit of a weird season this year, so that was a good hit on our part. Some of the misses, Greg Dulcich. I'm hoping this was a fluke, but we'll see. Juwan Johnson. I actually have been seeing him produce, and I wanted to start him, but I made the mistake of sitting him. So, and then there's Kyle Pitts, who, I just don't know if you can never trust him because he could always just let you down big time. Some of the close calls, though, we got Jordan Akins, Noah Gray, and Kylan Granson. Most of those guys actually hurt us, but that's where we're going from. Now, hopping on over to Week 10 buys. We got the Dolphins, the Seahawks, the Buccaneers, and the Jaguars all on buys. This can be a little bit hard if you haven't one of these tight ends. Mike Gesicki, he can do all right. K-Dot, and it kind of depends on the day. And if you got anyone else sharing that tight end role, and then you got Evan Ingram as well. Evan Ingram probably being the biggest hit here, but we're going to try to help you out, give you some people you can possibly use to fill in these slots that you might have because of buys or injuries. So with that, we're going to skip on over to Thursday Night Football, where we have the Tennessee Titans versus the Green Bay Packers. We got Austin Hooper and Robert Tonyan, both in the bench column. Starting off with Austin Hooper, he's just not a good tight end to have in your league. He's not one of the top 35 tight ends, and that's kind of saying something because this tight end position is kind of unique in the sense that only top 10 actually gets you some real decent value. Other than that, it's kind of like you're banking on some pretty big hits every now and again, but not necessarily consistent play. Green Bay's defense, they're number 7 overall. They allow only 9 points per game, so for that, I'm sitting him. I think they're just a run-dependent team. Green Bay Packers, we got a low-scoring game. Tennessee, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Tennessee, their defense is kind of weak against receivers more than tight ends, and they're just not consistently good for Green Bay Packers. I'm a little bit worried about it all as far as the Packers are concerned, so I got him sat as well. Heading over to the Bears versus Falcons, Cole Kmet, as we've said, he's doing pretty good. He's ranked in the top 15 now. He's had 2 consistently good showings against teams that I guess do give up a lot of points, so that's not super impressive, but I think it can continue, especially given the run threat of Justin Fields. He is a trusted and go-to target for Fields, and he's coming up with some touchdowns too, which is great. Atlanta gives up lots of points, so I think he'll have a heyday in this game. Atlanta, you got Kyle Pitts. I'm sitting him because he's 33% right now on the year as far as the games that he breaks those thresholds. It's just not consistent. There's a decently tough Chicago defense, and I, again, think that they are more run-centered, run-dependent team. Now we got Browns versus Bills. David Njoku, he's coming off an ankle injury, so be cautious of that. If he's good to go and seems to be healthy, not super limited, then yeah, I think that he could bring back those big numbers that he's putting up just a few weeks ago. But as for Harrison Bryant, he's just not a start, even if Njoku is out. Now Dawson Knox, with Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs, he's just kind of an afterthought. So I am having him benched still. He still is putting up decent numbers, but just below the threshold. So he's one of those good options that you could put in case you need somebody. Eagles versus Colts, we got Dallas Goedert. He's just been a really good option. He has some of the top numbers you can get as far as getting looked at and having, I guess, most receptions, some decent yards, and all that other stuff. So he's really putting up some decent numbers. He averages 13 points per game, and Indianapolis defense gives up over 13 points per game. So I think that he'll just go along there and probably score around that same amount of points. Indianapolis, we got Kylan Granson, who, yeah, he did pretty good last week, but I just don't think they're great options. I think they're still unsure about who the QB is. And look at this Eagles defense. They've been doing pretty good. There's a reason why they only have 1 loss, and the defense plays factor in there. So I don't see them breaking that threshold again, but if Kylan Granson is able to prove me wrong, then maybe he'll become a start here in the next couple of weeks. Jets versus Patriots, I got Tyler Conklin. He is a very risky start for me. He just has such a good matchup going into this game against the New England Patriots, then being ranked number 27 against the tight end, giving up around 14 points per game. I just think that he is very capable. It just is kind of hard when you got Zach Wilson at the helm. New England Patriots, Hunter Henry, I'm sitting. He doesn't have that high of a ceiling, and when he is breaking the threshold, it's usually less than a point. So he's just not a real safe or consistent option, but he's not a bad option either. Now we got the Rams versus the Saints. Tyler Higbee, pending Cooper Kupp. If Cooper Kupp is out, which I'm pretty sure we have seen that he's been put on the IR, so in which case I think you put Tyler Higbee in the start column. He's going to be getting more looks as another target. Now, if Matthew Stafford is also out, I think that also helps him. But let's keep in mind, New Orleans Saints, they have a number 2 defense against the tight end, only giving up around 8 points. So that could be a little bit hard, but I think they'll be able to produce pretty well. Now we got Juwan Johnson in the start column, Taysom Hill in the sit. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Juwan Johnson, he's been putting up some decent numbers in the last couple of weeks. The last 4 weeks, actually, he's broken the threshold 3 of those weeks, and he's just getting the targets. And there's some injuries there in New Orleans, but they are playing a tough defense. I still think that he can break that threshold, and that's why I have him in the start column. Lions versus Giants. Got all these guys benched. For Detroit, I don't know if they for sure have a clear tight end there. Brock Wright, he scored just this last week. 2 weeks ago, you had the other 2 tight ends score. So I don't know for sure they know who their starter is, or they're just going to keep playing these 3 tight ends all pretty evenly. Amon-Ra is clearly the go-to target, and then their run game is just so good that it's hard to veer too far away from that. On the Giants side, Daniel Bellinger, he has a favorable matchup against the Lions, who give up over 16 points. He give up 16.5 points per game. So if it is a high-scoring game, then yeah, maybe you might want to play him. But at the same time, I just don't think he's a safe enough option. So I have him in the bench column. Panthers. I put Giovanni on this just because he seemed to have the highest points in this last week. So maybe this is something going on here. But I have them all in the sit column until I can see what they're making of it. Now, Ravens, let's look at Mark Andrews pending injury. If he is very much so healthy, then yeah, start him. Obviously super capable and trusted target. And I believe that their offense is kind of designed to give some looks and some love to that tight end position. Isaiah Likely, though, I think that he'll be splitting time now with Mark Andrews, and that will eat out of his pot of points. Commanders versus Texans. Logan Thomas and Jordan Akins both benched again. They're just not putting up the same numbers since returning from injury for Logan Thomas, but he does have an all right matchup here against the Texans, but I need to see some more targets going his way. Houston, I need to see, again, more proof that Jordan Akins can continue to break this threshold. He was able to, but right now I think he's big play dependent. He was able to break it because he had some big-time plays. And if he's capable of that, then maybe he continues to come up with those big-time plays, but we'll analyze that a little bit more in the future. Heading over now to Denver, we got the Raiders versus the Broncos. Foster Moreau. Listen, I'm going to treat this as my matchup of the week. I'm going to give it to Foster Moreau just because I think he's filling a very good void there. In Las Vegas, you got Waller and Renfro who are on IR, so that takes away 2 decent targets. So I think he's got more of a role. He's getting tons of snaps. And Denver gives up 12.5 points per game. So I think he's going to come away with a decent amount of points. On the Broncos side, Greg Dulcich, I'm still hoping that he isn't a bust. Just a quick flash in the pan. I'm hoping that he is able to continue his production from his first 3 games and not do what he did in this last week, especially against this Vegas team who gives up a lot of points in general. So I'm hoping for the best with him. Heading over to the Cowboys versus the Vikings, I have both these guys in the start column. Dalton Schultz had a pretty good last game, and even in his last 3, he's broken the threshold all of those games. He had 8 targets in Week 10, which is something we'd like to see from our tight end spot. If he catches all those targets, he's essentially at that threshold already. The looks are there, and so is the connection with Dak Prescott. For TJ Hawkinson, this continues to impress me. He's 2 for 2 so far with them and continues to do well. He's had 19 targets in 2 weeks, which is pretty crazy considering the fact that he's pretty new to the offense and is still studying the playbook and getting adjusted to a new quarterback. But seems to be going pretty dang good over there for them. Now we got Cincinnati versus Steelers. Cincinnati, a little bit unpredictable here because they have so many throwing targets that it could go to any one of them any single day of the week. So I got Hayden Hurst on the sit though because I think that there are other targets who are better options. And Pittsburgh has a decent defense against tight end. For Pittsburgh, I got Pat Freiermuth again. He has been a decently consistent option, but he did fail us last week. The volume was still there, but he just needs to come up with those completions. So I have him still in the start column and hoping that he can make a quick bounce back in this Week 11. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Travis Kelce, Tyler Higbee, both starts here. Listen, I don't need to cover Kelce too much. He just continues to be a solid. Now, for the Los Angeles Chargers, I have Gerald Everett in the sit column. I think that they are very capable. I just don't know for sure where they're going to go with this. I think Kansas City, they're going to pretty much beat them in the ground and then try to run out the clock. I think Kansas City's a pretty good team, so that might put the Chargers in a tough spot. So Gerald Everett, I just have him in the sit column. I don't think that he's going to be the go-to target. We'll see if some of those receivers start returning for the Chargers, but so for now, I'm just going to put him in the sit column. Going on now to the Niners versus the Cardinals. We got George Kittle in the start column. Again, not a great Week 10. Hoping to see better in this Week 11. And I think that this could end up being a high-scoring game, especially because the Cardinals, they give up a lot of points. Just to the tight end alone, they averaged up to 19.6 points given away per game. Now, on the Cardinals side, not really sure. They just don't have great options there now that Zach Ertz has gone down. I got both these guys. I'm predicting that both of these guys are going to be split in time, so I've got them in the sit column. I think they're going to be eating away at each other's points. That wraps us up, though. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you'd like to see. Let us know what we're doing good. Ask away your questions. With trade deadlines coming up and playoffs coming up, it's something that you might need some help with, might need a second opinion. Let us know. Follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, and DM us on there, and we'll get back to you pretty quickly. Last thing is, this mustache continues to grow for me and Kayana. If you want to donate to the Movember charity, look down below in the subscription. I guess below where the subscription is, and you can donate there, and all those proceeds go to Men's Health Charity Organization. So give us a like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you in the quarterback video.